Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
At C&B Linen, fast, friendly, and reliable service is our promise to you. Because you're not just a customer, you're family. From multi-use linen to branded floor coverings and a complete range of cleaning supplies, C&B Linen is here to make sure you have everything you need. From our high-quality products to our fast, friendly, and reliable service, you'll experience the difference with C&B Linen. Because you're not just a client, you're part of our family. You'll be winning with C&B Linen.
Flooring sets the tone throughout your home.
For flooring that makes the right first impression, start by choosing us, Floored by Justin.
A one-stop flooring destination. Our new location stands alone for unequaled customer service and selection. Owner Justin Story's mastery of custom hardwood inlays means every room can have a custom look. Discover how the right choice of hardwood, laminate, carpet, or tile can set the tone in your home. Contact Floored by Justin today.
The Summit of Lawrenceburg is the premier senior and assisted living community in the region. The Summit makes it home for you or your loved one with diverse suites that welcome and encourage community, plus gathering spaces, neighborhoods, daily activities, and a wonderful staff that supports you every day.
Hi, I'm Tara Blue. I'm the new director of the Summit, and we would like to invite you and your family to come and tour our facility. We would love to see you here.
There's no job too big or too small for Gonzalez Lawn and Landscapes. Owner Chris Gonzalez works hard to make your commercial or residential properties one of the neighbors will envy. You won't find a lower price anywhere else, and that's a guarantee. We offer mowing, landscape removal, small construction jobs, and more. Our team is licensed and insured to ensure the best work for Lawrence County and surrounding areas. Your satisfaction is our goal. We won't leave until you're happy. Call today to set up a free quote.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome everybody in here to the X Sports Network studios for this edition of the Mark My Words College Sports Show here on the X Sports Network. I'm your host, Michael Marks. Again, the show was pre-recorded last week. I was out of town on vacation, so I'm back now, and we are going to jump right into it because, as the old ball coach down in Gainesville used to say, folks, it is talking season, so we are going to do plenty of that. Not a whole lot going on locally sports-wise. We did just finish up both the 11U Cal Ripken tournament, the Southeast Regional, and then the American Legion state tournament, 17U. So had a ton of fun with those. The Jaybirds were able to win the American Legion tournament. The Lawrenceburg team was able to come runner up to, I believe it was East Lake, Florida, on the Cal Ripken side. So we've talked about it a bunch, but the baseball talent in this county, it doesn't matter if you are at the high school age or if you are, T-ball, pretty much. It's been some really good production. So we're going to start things off on this episode with our Major League update. With Ryan Weathers, the New York Yankees starting pitcher, got a start yesterday. And again, looking at the line, it may not be the most appealing. Again, it was last night against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Weathers goes 4 2/3 innings, gives up 7 hits, 5 runs, all 5 earned, 5 strikeouts to 2 walks. His ERA takes a bit of a jump up from 4.15 to 4.4, but no decision for him. Obviously, didn't go long enough to get a win. But the Yankees able to pick up the win last night, and they've been struggling lately offensively. It's just not been there. Again, you lose the best right-handed hitter probably on the planet, probably in the last 10 or 15 years in Aaron Judge. And again, that offense is going to take a bit of a downtick. But you look at the guys in that lineup and you realize they're not missing that much. I mean, you have Trent Grisham. He didn't have a good game last night. He's not really having a good season. But you have Ben Rice, DH, first baseman, whatever you want to say. He is really come out of nowhere, having an awesome year. Paul Goldschmidt, you still got that veteran presence in him. Cody Bellinger, I mean, that's the All-Star Game MVP. He's been productive. Jazz Chisholm, he's been really good lately. I'm not going to say really good. I mean, still sub 230 batting average, but he has been doing better. And it's probably going to be a guy that gets shipped out if the Yankees are looking to build for a playoff run. Jason Dominguez, Ryan McMahon, Austin Wells, Jose Caballero, who got into a little bit of a scrum. And hey, Austin Wells got a couple of hits last night, which is not something he's been doing a lot of. Sub 160 batting average for him. But again, the guys that needed to have good games did. I mean, Chisholm has 5 of the 8 RBIs last night, and the Yankees do pick up the win 8-5. And the good thing for Weathers is that his opponent didn't have a very good start either. Actually, much worse, going only 3 innings, giving up 9 hits, 8 runs, only 7 of them earned, 2 strikeouts to 1 walk. And Braxton Ashcraft was a top 5 in the National League heading into the All-Star break in strikeouts, and didn't get many last night, but a good win for the Yankees against Pittsburgh as that series continues on. And we'll stay with a Pennsylvania-based team as Ryan's next start is projected right now to be Saturday in Philadelphia against the Phillies. That game will be at 5:05 Central Time. Again, on the MLB TV app, whatever I guess it's through ESPN, but it will be on the Yes Network. And hey, the Yankees are getting back on a good track. Again, came into the All-Star break, lost 2 tough ones to the Dodgers. They're a good team, but back on their winning ways. And hey, you blink and they've won 6 of their last 8. So maybe the Yankees are starting to figure things out. As is the pitching staff, the hitting, it's starting to all fall into place. And again, I believe they're still second in the division, but again, when Tampa is winning as much as they are now, they've hit a bit of a skid right now. Hey, the AL East is actually, the AL East is actually a ton of fun right now because you look at things and, well, team in first place is the Rays, and 4-6 in their last 10, 57 wins, 42 losses are really good. Got a 1.5 lead on the Yankees, who 56-44 through 110 games. And then you look down below them at the Boston Red Sox in third place, 51-48, 6 games out of first place, but they've won 14 games in a row. And it's just, I would say, as a Red Sox fan, it's been a ton of fun to watch that. I mean, you blink, this team was 37-48, 14 games ago. And listen, it's not even just this 14-game win streak, because you go in there and you look, the last loss was July 1st and June 30th to the Nationals. You win those 2 games, and you have the longest win streak in Major League history active right now, because that would extend that winning streak to 16. And, well, you won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before that. It'd be a 21-game win streak, the longest in Major League history, or one of the longest in Major League history. And again, this was a Red Sox team that lost 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, June 22nd and June 24th. So the fact that they have turned it around, and again, you have a 4-game sweep of the Yankees in there. You have a 3-game sweep of the White Sox on the road, a 3-game sweep of the Mets when you flew in and about 2 hours before the first game, and then you come out of the All-Star break in a 4-game sweep of Tampa Bay, who was really good. And honestly, other than that game Saturday night, the 7-6 win, kind of dominant all of them. And hey, Caleb Durbin, a big home run to get them over the Orioles last night. We'll be going at it again tonight. Kyle Bradish, Ranger Suarez should be a ton of fun in that one. But back to the Major League report, looking at Weather's stats on the season now: 102 innings, 102 and 1/3 innings pitched, 101 hits, 56 runs, only 50 earned, 115 strikeouts to 29 walks. He is 14th in the American League in strikeouts. He is top 25 in Major League Baseball in strikeouts this year. And hey, the Yankees are 9-10 in games that he has pitched this year. That's a pretty good record. I mean, maybe the actual win-loss at 3-7 doesn't look as glamorous, but hey, the team is 500 when he pitches, and he's got a 4.4 ERA. And you look at all the kind of things that have gone against him this year, in the sense of he's had 2 or 3 starts pushed back due to rain, games getting postponed, which, I mean, and it may just be that I've kept up a little more closely with it this year, but it feels like that's happened a lot more than normal with the games being postponed and pushed back. But he's also a new father. One of these games, is probably roughest start of the year against Detroit. He's pitching he was pitching sick, with the food poisoning. So, he's battled, and coming off a good start against Washington, maybe a bit of a shaky start against Pittsburgh, but his team was able to get the win, which is the important part. And again, he'll be on the mound for his 20th start of the season coming up this weekend. So we turn things over to another former Laredo Mustang and Blade Tidwell, San Francisco Giants / Sacramento River Cats pitcher. Again, had a interesting start to the season. Makes one start in Sacramento, not a very long start, and then gets called up to the majors for the entire month of April, from April 2nd to April 28th. Made 8 appearances, no decision in those, but again, in his 8 appearances, went 12 innings, 10 hits, only 4 runs, 3 walks, 10 strikeouts, had a 3 ERA. Looked good, but again, San Francisco sent him down, and to try to link him out to be a starter, again, you look, the pitching staff in San Francisco has been a little subpar this year, but again, most of that team has been subpar. So Blade comes back, makes an appearance out of the bullpen. His ERA jumps up a little bit, so that may be why it's a little high, but had a good start. Again, we talked about it last week on the show. He got his first win of the season in that game right before the All-Star break. Goes 6 innings, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts, dropped the ERA to a 4.4. And again, had another pretty good start this past Friday, actually, on my birthday. Goes 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. His shortest outing since, his first start back in Sacramento. But, hey, it was not a bad start. He gave up 1 home run to Jordan Beck, a guy that he was at Tennessee with. So, kind of a little fun thing there. So on the minor league season for Blade, 61 1/3 innings, pitched 62 hits, 33 runs, 30 of them earned, 70 strikeouts to 29 walks, a 1-3 record on the season, but has a 4.4 ERA. And again, when that was an ERA that started when he started ticking it down back in May. It was an ERA that started that was just above double digits. Whip below 1.5, still over 10 strikeouts per 9, less than 4 walks per 9. And about a 2.5 strikeout to walk ratio. Again, maybe we'd like to get those numbers a little bit further, a little bit bigger, at least on the strikeout to walk numbers. But again, you look, he had a 7-walk start back in late June, but since then, in the 4 starts, has only given up 6 walks. And in that time, the strikeout numbers have shot up big time. That's 24 strikeouts in those 4 starts compared to the, just the 10 he had in the 3 starts before them. Now, again, minor league baseball is a little bit different. They don't post projected starters at least on minor league baseball's website. So I would guess his next start would probably be Thursday, and if not Friday. Both those games are at Sacramento against the Oklahoma City Comets. And again, with that game being in Sacramento, start time 8:45 Central Time on both of those games. So, last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, we talked a little bit of college football. We talked the ESPN College Football FPI. Now, that is not a top 25 teams in the country. That is what ESPN believes is the top 25 strongest teams, at least roster-wise. And, some people like it, some people don't like it. I mean, I could tell if you're a South Carolina fan, you probably love that, because not many people outside of Columbia have really high hopes for South Carolina, and that's nothing against them, but it's a much tougher SEC now, and they just don't necessarily have the top to bottom talent. Now you got Dylan Stewart, you got Lenore Sellers, those guys are great, but can they finally show something on the field? Hey, they're at 23 in that ranking. Auburn's in there, Missouri's in there. A lot of teams that you may not be as high on are in those rankings. So, I said that this week when I returned, we would talk some trophy award winners. So I have the Heisman, the Davey O'Brien Award, which is the quarterback award, the Doak Walker, which is the best running back, the Fred Biletnikoff to the best receiver, some offensive All-Americans, at least in the skill positions. And then I decided I'll make a preseason top 25. This is not, and I'm kind of a little iffy on if I want to say that this is who I think the best 25 teams are now, or who I think the top 25 best teams will be at the end of the season. It's a little bit of a mix of both, but I went through my top 25 teams, which is it's an even mix. I didn't throw a whole lot from one conference in there versus another. I have 4 ACC teams in there. I have 5 from the Big 12. I have, I would say 6 from the Big 10. I think 7 SEC teams, and even an independent in there. I wanted to, and then I threw some teams just outside that could be sneaky, could maybe either start the season in the top 25 or could be there at one point or another. So, but before we get to that, we're going to do a little just talking. I mean, it is that talking season. We're going to be doing a lot of guessing, predicting. Again, we have SEC Media Days going on, where you had, I believe it was Tennessee, Missouri. Can't think of everybody that was there yesterday. But you had a pretty good group of teams in there yesterday from the SEC. You had Greg Sankey talking about the SEC wanting to break away from the rest of the NCAA, which, again, you can say the SEC has the most fans or the most passionate fans or maybe the most money when it comes to things. I understand why Greg Sankey is upset because he wants there to be some uniform rules because there's not some little things that you can tweak in there that would give one of his teams an advantage. Because when he got there, when Greg Sankey became the SEC commissioner, which I believe was in, I'm going to make sure I get that year right. So he became the commissioner back in 2015. So really, the SEC, in football-wise at least, has been on a slight decline since now listen, his first 2 years there, that was the middle, I would say, of the Alabama dynasty, the Nick Saban era. That was the 2015 would have been the Blake Sims year, or maybe Jacob Coker. That was the 2015, but still, the next year you had the Jalen Hurts year, undefeated all the way to the national championship game. You win it the next year with Tua. Georgia starts making their come up. So I'm not going to say the SEC's fallen off under him, but it's definitely gotten a little bit closer. So let's do a little talking around the SEC, because I think it's probably the most interesting conference heading into this year, especially with them talking about breaking away. I think at this point, you almost have to win the national championship. And looking at the conference top to bottom, I don't know if there's a team that can do that. And that's not me hating on them. But here's the thing. You look at Ohio State, just on a broad span. They have a good head coach, great head coach in Ryan Day. They've brought in now, and they had an NFL defensive coordinator last year who went really well. They brought in an NFL offensive coordinator in the offseason. Julian Sayin, Bo Jackson, the new one, Jeremiah Smith, Chris Henry, all those guys. They try to get better every year. Win the national championship or not, Ohio State's trying to improve every year. They have a go-to guy in Jeremiah Smith. If you need 10 yards, you know who to go to. You're throwing it to number 4. They have a big, physical, mean defense that, again, is going to have to replace a lot this year, and we'll talk about that. But, they have go-to guys at every position. I heard a stat this morning. Georgia, who people would say is probably the favorite in the SEC, hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver in my lifetime. 2002 was the last time they had a 1,000-yard receiver. That was no AJ Green, no George Pickens, no Zachariah Branch. Last year he got pretty close to somewhere in the 800s. And you can say, yeah, they spread the ball around a lot, and they do. And Gunnar Stockton's not going to throw for 4,000 yards. I don't think he got even close to that last year. Now we can take a look at Stockton's numbers from last year, because I am high on him. I think he's going to have a great year. But he only threw for 2,600 yards last year, and I don't think he missed a game. That's 70th in college football. That's that was probably near the bottom when it comes to power 4 guys. But what I'm getting at is there anybody in the SEC that just feels perfect or pretty close to it at every position? I think you could throw Texas in there, but again, a lot of that is relying on something we haven't seen yet, and that's a full good season from Arch Manning. So it's really interesting. is there anybody outside of Georgia and Texas that could win it in the SEC? I mean, I think you got to throw LSU in there because obviously it's LSU, but it's kind of the same thing for Texas. It's, we haven't seen Arch play a full good year yet. We haven't seen Lane Kiffin win a big game yet. And listen, he does have that win over Georgia a couple years ago at Ole Miss, and that had a chance to get Ole Miss into the playoff and then lost a game to Kentucky at home and to Florida, who were both awful that year. He hasn't won anything yet because his team made the playoff last year and he was out the door before they could even get to the Tulane game. And his assistants won those games for him, I guess you could say. I mean, they don't go on his record. But they have a lot of new. They built an entire team out of the portal from a team that was not very good last year. Can you go from zero to hero in 1 year? I mean, even in Indiana, it took a couple years. Alabama, they're going to have a new quarterback. Texas A&M, they're probably going to have a target on their back this year. Oklahoma, are they going to be able to score points? So I think Greg Sankey has maybe put the SEC in a bit of a difficult situation, saying that they want to break away because they haven't won a national championship since 2022 in Georgia, and it doesn't look like 2025 or 2026 will be any different for them. And just it's really interesting. Now, Josh Heupel had some funny quotes yesterday talking to about Lane Kiffin's return to Knoxville once again. He did say that he hoped the grocery stores had their mustard and the sporting goods stores had stocked up on their golf balls. So seems to be some good fun banter between those two guys. And also and I'm going to consider this great news coming out of college football when, it feels like a lot of the talk can be negative sometimes. We do have some good news, if I can pull it up real quick. And that is all the SEC guys from yesterday. Kentucky, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Missouri were the 4 teams yesterday. But Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy, who is a consensus All-American in 2025, is, quote, medically cleared from his gunshot wound this summer. But the timeline for his return to play this year for the Tigers is still uncertain, per Coach Eli Drinkwitz. Again, Hardy suffered that gunshot wound to his leg, upper leg last summer, or this past summer, and Drinkwitz said he is not now rehabbing to return to football, which will take at least a month. At least that's looking towards the end of August, early September, which is around week 1. I don't think we'll see him play week 1. If we do, it'll probably be just a snap or 2. But I'm really hopeful that that's great news. I hope that he is able to return and be able to be a big piece for Missouri this year. Now, again, without him, Missouri's going to be just fine. Obviously, he makes them really good, but without him, they're going to be fine with Jamal Roberts. But, he was second in FBS with rushing yards, nearly 1,700, had like a 300-yard game at one point this year. He is electric, and he's got another year. You look at his career, he's only played 2 years, folks. He can come back another year after this. He has played 2 years of college football and has 493 carries for 3,000 yards. He's run for over 5.7 yards per carry every year of his career, and he has 29 touchdowns to go along with it. The dude is just a stat sheet stuffer. Had 250 yards on 22 carries against Louisiana, had 25 carries for 300 yards at Mississippi State, or at home against Mississippi State. But it went over 100 the first 5 games of the year, and then did it 3 more times after that. That's a big piece of your offense, especially with Bo Perbula now off to Virginia. But you do have Austin Simmons. I think that this could be an interesting year for Missouri, but again, with Ahmad Hardy, they turn into a completely different team. And now, actually, some unfortunate running back news out of the SEC is Georgia transfer running back Dante Dowdell hospitalized after an ATV accident. Is currently being treated for serious injuries at a hospital in Atlanta. Bulldogs coach Kirby Smart confirmed to ESPN earlier today. Dowdell, who transferred from Georgia to Kentucky this offseason, was injured near his home in Mississippi. Details of his accident aren't known. He's injured, Smart said at SEC Media Days. We don't know when his return will be. I don't know the specifics of it, to be honest with you. It was a recreational vehicle, and he had some serious injuries. Smart told ESPN that Dowdell is being treated at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, which specializes in treatment and rehabilitation, including spinal cord and brain injuries. He's out of the tough range, but as far as his complete health and coming all the way back, I don't know what that looks like in terms of this year. Dowdell, a senior, was expected to be one of the Bulldogs' top backups behind returning starter Nate Frazier this season. He ran for 560 yards with 3 touchdowns at Kentucky last season. Again, did deal with a little bit of injuries at Kentucky, so he was really good. Dowdell played at Oregon in 2023 and Nebraska in 2024, where he ran for 614 yards and 12 touchdowns in his only season with the Cornhuskers. He's just a tremendous kid with a great family, Smart said. We're very supportive of them. Our players have been up there to see him. It's a really tough deal. And again, I'm not going to speculate, but from what was said in this, I mean, even in the headline, serious injuries. You scroll down. He's at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, which specializes in treatment rehab, including spinal cord and brain injuries. Even Kirby Smart saying he had some serious injuries, and then I don't know what that looks like in terms of this year with coming back for football. That seems like it's pretty big deal. It's pretty serious, and just hope that obviously he's able to get back, because that's going to be a big piece for Georgia. And again, we talk about the SEC needing to win a national championship this year. He would be a big piece of a Georgia win. Now, something that also maybe took a little bit of the sports world by a bit of a storm, Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel to step down at the end of calendar year. Now, again, that's an athletic director's name that you know, mainly because he was the head of the NCAA, or the College Football Playoff Committee a couple years ago, and was not very popular due to that. But you look at it, it's quick, how quickly forget about the Sharon Moore incident, and even you can even go back to Juwan Howard with the basketball side of things. Michigan's had a lot of unfortunate circumstances. Now, listen, they have won a college football playoff national championship, the last of the 14 playoff back in 2023, and then they won the men's college basketball national championship just a couple months ago in 2026. So, within 1,100-day span, give or take, they won national championships in the 2 biggest sports. But it's announced that Michigan will be looking elsewhere. So, from Dan Wetzel and Pete Thamel at ESPN, Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel will step down at the end of the calendar year, the university announced on Monday. The school also released a summary of an independent investigation into the, quote, culture of the scandal-plagued athletic department, which concluded that the issues were not widespread. I mean, it was pretty much just the football team. Had a bunch of cheating coaches, whether it was cheating on the field or off the field. They did a little bit of both. Manuel, 58, has led the powerhouse athletic department for over a decade, a time that saw numerous national championships, including men's football and men's basketball, but also plenty of NCAA run-ins, legal issues involving assistant football coaches, and the 2025 firing of football coach Sharon Moore for having an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. In late 2025, the university hired the Chicago law firm Jenner and Block to investigate the Moore situation and additionally review the broader operations of the department. On Monday, it was released an outline of the investigation that has already cost $12 million. It does not plan to release any additional documents, according to the Board of Regents spokesperson. So, it seems that maybe some of the things are starting to catch up with some people in this Michigan issue. I mean, we know all the terrible things that were going on in the football program, whether it was the cheating scandal of stealing signs, whether it was the cheating scandal of Sharon Moore cheating on his wife, and there is a bit of an update. Again, back in April, it was released that Sharon Moore gets probation for his misdemeanors. Again, remember when he kind of went a little bit off the rails after getting fired from the apartment incident where he went over to the staff member's apartment and had a knife. So hopefully he can get the help he needs, and maybe Michigan is looking to turn for the better. And I kind of hate that they lose Dusty May, because it seemed like whether you like Michigan or not, he seemed like a respectable guy. So, we are going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll talk a little bit more college football headlines. We'll go into our top 25 and reasonings behind that, and then those award winners that I previewed a couple weeks ago. So that will be next when we return here on the Mark My Words College Sports Show.
At Smith Tax and Business Service, we offer many services. Along with personal income tax prep, we also offer tax preparation for corporations and partnerships. If you're a small business and looking for some extra help, give us a shout and we'll get you fixed up. Call Mary Beth Smith, Marion Matthews, Brooklyn Bates, or Michelle Staggs to find out how we can help you. Located at 208 Pulaski Street, phone 931-244-6633. Southern Craft Manufacturing is dedicated to creating the finest quality and greatest value products in the death care industry. Southern Craft has perfected blending old world craftsmanship with modern manufacturing technologies to create a full line of steel, wood, and corrugated caskets. Family owned and operated for over 30 years, Southern Craft is now looking to hire local and regional truck drivers, welders, and production workers, each with great starting pay and a benefits package. For more information, visit southerncraftmfg.com.
If you're looking for a company that can do it all when it comes to building, look no further than Tenneke Properties. From new home builds to remodels and commercial projects, our contractors work hard to give your space a new life from planning to finishing touches. Whether it's new interiors or dirt work, they see your big picture without forgetting the small details. In the market for a new home, they partnered with Freeman Development to bring new homes to the Oak Hill subdivision of Lawrenceburg. That's Tenneke Properties, licensed and insured. Call today or visit Tenneke.com.
Arts, crafts, stationery, journals, books, educational toys, wrapping paper, devotionals, greeting cards, and much more can all be found at Paper and Thread in downtown Lawrenceburg. Shop local to find the perfect gift or have a custom gift basket made for just the right occasion. Paper and Thread has a party room now available for birthdays, classes, and so much more. We could go on and on about all the neat things you'll find at Paper and Thread, but you just need to hop in your car and head down there. 106 North Military Avenue in Lawrenceburg is where you'll find them and discover what makes Paper and Thread awesome. That's Paper and Thread in downtown Lawrenceburg, 106 North Military Avenue, just north of the square.
Pat's Cafe and Catering has been proudly serving customers in Lawrenceburg since 1987. For 4 generations, our family-run cafe has served up delicious breakfast and lunch favorites, with friendly service and a welcoming atmosphere. We also offer full-service catering and can help to make your next party or event a success. For great food and friendly faces, visit us today at Pat's Cafe and Catering.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome everybody back here to the Mark My Words College Sports Show here on the X Sports Network. We're jumping right back into some college football. And we'll take a look around we'll go to On3, see if they've got anything interesting talking-wise. So, 3 days ago, Ari Wasserman dropped his top 2026 off-season winners, and it's going to be, well, actually, we're going to talk about all those teams in our top 25 preview, so we'll leave that as is, because, again, we are coming really close to college football season. I believe we're on the 6 weeks now, and hey, anytime we get under the 30-day mark, it's probably just going to start driving me crazy. Here's a Paul Feinbaum headline. Calls out Dabo Swinney for, quote, being stuck on stupid. And listen, I love Paul. I could watch that show all day. Him and his callers are just as entertaining as each other. And, my favorite thing, 7 or 8 years ago was watching the Paul, and honestly, I could say it up to 2 or 3 years ago. During the Nick Saban era, watching the Paul Feinbaum show the Monday after an Alabama loss was comedy. But he has, in recent years, become very big on, I guess, clickbaity headlines. So he says, "I am getting so exasperated listening to Dabo tell us how great he used to be. They're not great anymore. You don't hear Tom Brady talking about his Super Bowls. I think he actually talks about those pretty frequently. But I digress. Dabo is just stuck on stupid right now, trying to convince us that his program is still legitimate. It's not. It's slipping and sliding away. It's good. Maybe they'll win 9 games this year, or maybe they won't. But they lost 6 games last year with the Heisman favorite heading into the season with Cade Klubnik, and that is downright embarrassing. Listen, I think the media was a little too high on both Penn State and Clemson last year. But this is also the Dabo Swinney that every time Alabama lost and this goes back to Alabama, but every time Alabama lost a football game, whether it was in the playoff, whether it was a bowl game, most times it was the national championship, and he would say the dynasty is over after every season. The dynasty's over. And it wasn't until Nick Saban left. And I'm not saying it's over now. I mean, it's been the longest gap between national championships, I would say, in my lifetime. But again, they went from, I guess the late 90s, but to 2009. But we're coming on a 6-year span now without a national championship. But I think the more important thing is the SEC's gone 3 years without one. But to say that you don't think Clemson's going to be good this year, I think is just a little ignorant, honestly. Let's take a look at their schedule real quick. Because honestly, I don't know if I've looked at it too intently this year. Now, obviously, we know they start week 1 at LSU, but apart from that, how difficult is this schedule? Because we know the ACC is kind of down, and if you can be one of the lucky teams that doesn't have to play, Miami or Virginia or Clemson, or no, not Clemson, or Louisville, you could really get away with a sneaky good year. So week 1 LSU, they'll probably lose. Just going to go ahead and put it out there. They will probably lose that game week 1. But you got Georgia Southern the next week. Should be an easy win. You get North Carolina the week after that. You should win that one. After that, you go to Cal. It's going to be a late game. It's going to be a long travel. But, okay. You start 4-0. Probably 3-1. Then you got Miami. At Miami. No, it's actually at Clemson. Get a big upset there. Charleston Southern, that's a winnable game. Virginia Tech, you get the Dabo versus James Franklin, who's Washed Bowl. At Florida State, at Syracuse, versus Georgia Tech, at Duke, versus South Carolina. It's a tough schedule in terms of the ACC, but that's not impossible to navigate. Could they win 8 of those games? Listen, loss-wise, I see a loss at LSU. I see a loss to Miami. I see a loss to maybe Georgia Tech, maybe Virginia Tech, maybe Duke. But in the grand scheme of things, I see at least an 8 or 9 win team there. And I don't think that's necessarily stuck on stupid. So again, last Saturday, we were 6 Saturdays away from the college football season. And hey, Pat Narduzzi, he likes to talk. Let's see what he has said. He says the ACC is better than the Big Ten. I mean, I don't even want to read the quote now. That's just, here's a coach in the ACC that's stuck on stupid. It's better than the Big Ten. It's got more skill, he added. You look at our record in bowl games against the SEC and the Big Ten. You look at our record in the regular season. We don't have losing records. Well, let's look at the 2025 ACC standings. So, we're looking at overall record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your 17 teams had losing records. That's a third of your conference. And Boston College, Virginia Tech, Syracuse won 2 or 3 games each. Stanford only won 4. North Carolina only won 4. I mean, Florida State, who's supposed to be one of your big dogs, only won 5. And then you have a 9-5 team who was 7-5 in the regular season win your conference. Now, that's because Miami was not in there and because of wins and losses and stuff like that. But if you look at the ACC and just think that they're better than the Big Ten, you are stupid. I mean, we look at this year. In my top 25, I think I have about twice as many Big Ten schools as I do ACC schools, and I was trying to find places to put ACC schools. Again, we talked about Ward Manuel stepping down. More on the Ahmad Hardy situation. We don't know what the return to play progression would be. It could take anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks. So again, you're hoping for his sense that it's the 5, hoping it's not the 8. But again, he's young. He's a good athlete. Typically, when it comes to an injury thing, they're on the lower end of that scale. So hopefully that's the case. Kentucky new head coach Will Klein said on the why the Wildcats will win big in Lexington. Because of me, to be honest. Because of me. I like the confidence in the guy, honestly. I mean, I was big on the hire. He's a Kentucky guy. I mean, he's not a Kentucky Wildcat. He's a Louisville guy, but he is from the state of Kentucky. He knows Kentucky. And look at what he did at Oregon. I mean, every year his quarterback was pretty much a Heisman candidate. Dante Moore, Dylan Gabriel. I think he probably could have done something with Dylan Raiola if given that opportunity. And you look at Kentucky's schedule, it's tough. I talked about it a couple weeks ago. But I remember a couple years ago when a young, unproven head coach got hired at a basketball school and started calling out the big dogs in the conference. And then now the losingest program in college football history is your reigning national champions in Indiana. Do I think Will Stein's Kurt Cignetti? Not remotely close. But I think he can provide a younger spark than Mark Stoops was providing there at the end and still give you those chances at 8 and 9 win years. So let's talk coach hot seats, because there's a couple heading into the season. This is a list from Andy Staples of some guys that are probably going to need to win some games, and I would say what the record is that gets them fired. Starting off with Shane Beamer at South Carolina. He probably needs a bowl game to save his job, and I don't know if I see it this year. I see South Carolina as one of the bottom 2 or 3 teams in the SEC, and they could spank Tennessee, and I'd probably still agree with that. They have really good players, like Lenoris Sellers, like Nick Harbor, well, if he can learn how to catch, like Dylan Stewart. But football is the one sport where you need good players everywhere, a good team everywhere. And that's probably why some of these guys are in the hot seat. So Shane Beamer's probably going to need to get to 6 wins. Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati. I think he's gone this year unless they have a great year again. And they didn't even have a great year last year. But I think they're probably teetering on getting in some trouble with the Brendan Swordsby issue, knowing that they, or at least people alleging that they knew about it. And he hasn't won anywhere he's been. I mean, he had the a little bit of a good track record coming in, but he wasn't able to win at Louisville. He wasn't able to win at Cincinnati. And honestly, I think those programs are probably looked at a little bit less now because of him. Hey, but Jeff Brom's done a good job getting Louisville back. Dave Aranda at Baylor. I think he's going to save his job. I really do. If Baylor's defense can hold things down long enough for DJ Lagway to put some points up, I think Baylor could be, I don't think they're going to be great this year, but I think 7-5 could save his job. Mike Loxley at Maryland. See, it's these smaller schools in the Big Ten that didn't care much about football that are really going to feel this conference realignment, and I think Maryland's a perfect example. They were cool being 3rd or 4th in their division every year, but now there's 18 teams in the Big Ten, and you're finishing 14-18 every year under Mike Loxley. Maybe time to look elsewhere. And now Malik Washington, extremely talented quarterback, but he's still really young, and I don't know if he's going to be ready to take on everything that is in the Big Ten. Luke Fickell at Washington. Again, I don't think, I'm kind of on the same page with him and Dave Aranda. I don't think he's going to get fired this year. But man, this is the first time in my lifetime I can think of Wisconsin football kind of being looked at as a joke. I remember the Melvin Gordons and there's a Monty Ball. There's 5 or 6 running backs that I could think of. They were good. They had, the J.J. Watt. He was really good. And it was big physical Big Ten football. They ran the ball. They played good defense. And now they're kind of a joke. They got lucky and won a couple games last year, but they're not good. And then you have their athletic department come out and say, hey, we're sticking with Luke Fickell. We're going to give him the resources he needs. What do you mean you're going to give him the resources he needs? Was he not given them to begin with? Did you just think he was magically going to make your football team good? Because I bet you he got a lot of help from Cincinnati with resources and helping him recruit, and obviously the location of where he is. It's like, hey, we're actually going to try now. I mean, statements like that, I feel like, can set your program back nearly a half decade. Hey, we're going to start trying now. You should have been trying to begin with. Because look, there are 2 sports in college basketball, and sometimes 3, I'll go 2.5, of sports that are profitable for the university money-wise. Football, men's basketball, and some schools are teetering on the line with women's basketball and baseball. I mean, even schools like South Carolina are losing $6 million a year annually on women's basketball, and they win pretty frequently. I think UConn is a team that profits off women's basketball every year. I think LSU could be a team that profits off baseball every year, things like that. But if you want to make your university some money and try to grow, it's in football. Mike Norvell at Florida State. I don't know how he still has a job at Florida State, to be honest. And this, I'm not trying to be mean or negative about it, but Mike Norvell has been at Florida State since 2020, that COVID year. Has a head coaching record of 76-49, but a lot of that is from his time at Memphis, where he had a really good team. 38-15 in those years. But since he's been at Florida State, here's his record by year. 3-6 in 2020, 5-7 in 2021. Hey, 10-3 in 2022. Finished second in your division, won the Cheez-It Bowl. 2023, you go 13-1. You go perfect in the regular season. Jordan Travis gets injured. You get murdered in the Orange Bowl by Georgia. 2-10 and 5-7. So you take out 2022 and 2023, where you went 23-4. You are 15-30. You're losing twice as much as you're winning. At Florida State, the only team that has ever started a season as the preseason number 1 and won the national championship back in 1999 was Florida State. And really since, you can even go back since Jimbo Fisher left, Florida State has realistically been a joke. And I don't know if Norvell's the guy to fix it. He had a couple of good years, but how do you go from 13-1 to 2-10? I get you lost a lot, but that's impressive. Bill O'Brien at Boston College. Yeah, I could see why you would put him in the hot seat just because Boston College has not been good. But also, it's Boston College. They haven't been good since Doug Flutie was there, since Matt Ryan was there. He's not been there for very long, and honestly, Bill O'Brien doesn't have a ton of college coaching experience. He had 2 years at Penn State as the head coach, and he's got 2 years at Boston College as the head coach. He's got a college coaching record of 24-25, and 15-9 of that was just 2 years at Penn State. Now, he had several years as the head coach of the Houston Texans, and in his 6 years as the head coach there, won the division 4 times. Now, lost in the wild card all but, I believe, 1 year. But he's not, he's no Nick Saban. He's no Urban Meyer. He's a good head coach, and he's a good offensive mind. But this is a guy that was a NFL guy and came back to college for a little bit to kind of get his feet wet and being a head coach. But Bill O'Brien is better as an offensive coordinator. And looking at Boston College in the ACC, if they have another 2 or 3 win year, he's out. I think if they can get close to 500 in the 5-7 to 7-5 range, they'll be fine. Bill Belichick at North Carolina. Tar Heels were bad last year, and it wasn't the defense's fault. You go look at the scores from those games last year. Well, scoring wasn't much of what they were doing. We'll pull up the 2025 UNC Tar Heels. Finished with a whopping 4-8 record. And remember, Pat Narduzzi, our teams don't have losing records. Now, again, there was a lot of turnover, this, that, and the other. But you score 14 against TCU, 20 against Charlotte, 41 against Richmond, 9 against UCF, 10 against Clemson, 18 against Cal, 16 against Virginia in a game you lost by 1, 27 at Syracuse, 20 at Stanford, 12 at Wake Forest, 25 to Duke, and 19 to NC State. If they scored 30 points in every game last year, they're still not great, but they win 3 more games, and that's a 7-5 respectable team. Now, the defense is going to be good. I feel pretty confidently in that. But getting rid of Freddie Kitchens was a great idea. Now, you think, again, that would have been a good idea. I mean, that was a guy that was an NFL head coach. Now, it was the Cleveland Browns, and they weren't great that year, but he was a good coach. It just didn't work out at North Carolina. And, he tried for a couple of years as got a role as the interim before Bill Belichick came in. Now, I think he probably needs to fire his son, too, as the DC. Now, the defense was fine, but it needed some improvement. Brought in Bobby Petrino on the OC side. I think they'll get to 6 or 7 wins. I think he'll save his job. And last but not least, Lincoln Riley. It feels weird to say that the head coach at USC, who has a very good record as a head coach in college football, is on a hot seat. But it's kind of in the sense that James Franklin's on the hot seat every year, and Brian Kelly's on the hot seat every year. He wins, but not everything. He doesn't win the big ones. You look, since he's been at USC, 11-3 and 8-5 in his 2 years in the Pac-12, and then since the Big Ten has come around, 16 wins, 10 losses. I think 8-4 probably is teetering the line of him getting fired. You look at the 2026 schedule for USC, and it's winnable. I mean, let's look at things from a loose perspective. We'll just show wins: San Jose State, Fresno State, Louisiana, Rutgers. I don't think you beat Oregon. Washington should be a big game. I think you can get that. At Penn State, that's going to be tough. Wisconsin, so I got you at 6 wins. Probably lose to Ohio State. You're going to lose to Indiana. You can't let that Maryland turn into another loss. So, with losses to Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, and maybe to Penn State, you're going to have to win one of those games you shouldn't win. And I don't know if Lincoln Riley's that guy, but we will sure figure that out. So, guys, we'll turn things over now to my preseason award winners. I've done the Heisman Trophy. I've given you 4 names for Heisman, 5 names for each other award, and I've just done QB, running back, and wide receiver. We'll do some defensive ones maybe a little bit later down the road. We'll start with the Fred Biletnikoff Award. It goes to the nation's top wide receiver. I think this is actually a really interesting list because there are 3 guys off the top of my head right now that could win this award. And if it was a year with just them, one of them, they would be the favorite. Now, I'm not going to list them first. I'll go from the bottom to the top. And 5th, I got Charlie Becker from Indiana. Josh Hoover throws the ball a ton. He's got a great deep ball, one of the best in the country. Charlie Becker's a really good deep ball threat. We saw him really emerge late in the season. He's going to have to be a go-to guy for Indiana this year if they want to be what they are, and I think he can do that for them. Ryan Williams at Alabama. He's fast. He's elusive. He has really changed his body up, and I think his mindset's gotten a lot better because at times last year it was still tough. Now, the 3 guys I think can win this award: Cam Coleman at Texas. Arch Manning, again, another one of the best deep ball throwers in the country. Cam Coleman, this is by far the best wide receiver he has had. By far. And for Cam Coleman, this is by far the best quarterback he's had. I mean, he had Jackson Arnold last year. Until it was, the Deuce Knight show. Malachi Toney at Miami. He is going to be the number 1 run after catch guy. Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, those are deep ball, go up and get it. Malachi Toney's going to have to work for it because he is a slot receiver. He's a screen threat, but dude, he is a joystick, a human joystick. If you watch his playoff, go back and just watch his freshman year, which was last year, his highlights. I think he's one of the best football players in the country, not just wide receiver. And then, probably the best football player in the country, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. And it makes Ohio State really dangerous because if it's 4th down and 11 and your season's on the line, you're going to number 4. And you can put 3 guys over there on him, but he's 6'4", he's 230 pounds, and he can go up and get anything. It feels like they have one every year, but he's probably the best they've had. So right now, I'm actually going to go with Malachi Toney to win the Biletnikoff Award. I think he's going to have a huge year. I think all-purpose yards are going to be big for him because I think he's going to probably play a little bit of a role in like a run game and the the sense of reverses and sweeps and things like that, that kind of thing. Now we'll move things over to the Doak Walker Award. Goes to the nation's top running back, and there's pretty good competition this year. So I'm going to start off with an honorable mention, and it's a guy I talked about earlier in Ahmad Hardy. I think if he is able to play in all 12 games, which it's seeming like he's not, if he gets to even play in 10 games, he's got a chance because he is going to get the ball a lot. He's going to run hard. He's going to run, mad. Because, listen, if he is able to come back, that dude is going to have the biggest chip off his shoulder on anybody in the country. And I think to be a good running back, you got to be mad. Start with LJ Martin over at BYU. Had a tremendous year last year. BYU returned some good protection on the offensive line, which is going to give him the opportunity. And also in the sense of the pass game, Bear Bachmeier lost his 2 top receivers, and you're going to have to get some of that yardage back. I think you look at an experienced running back like LJ Martin to do so. Now, Caleb Hawkins, running back Oklahoma State. He's making the jump up from the group of 5 to the Power 4 level. In the Big 12, which I'd say is is ranked third out of the 4 big conferences. So it's going to be an adjustment, and he ran for 1,500 yards last year, whatever it was. He could do that again. But it's going to take a lot from that Oklahoma State offensive line, and I don't know if they're going to be at that level yet, but I still see him as a very big candidate. And a guy I have having a breakout year is Jaden Ball, the running back for Florida. Dude's electric. I mean, is one of the best receiving backs in the country, has great vision, and man, his improvement from the end of 2024 to the beginning of 2026 is nothing short of impressive. So I think with that in mind and how important he's going to have to be for Florida, gives him a pretty good shot. I don't know if Florida's actually ever won the Doak Walker Award. I mean, they've had some pretty good running backs in their past, like an Emmitt Smith, but I don't know if any of them were that caliber. Kawan Lacey is my favorite running back from Ole Miss. He's going to get the ball a ton because Ole Miss's passing game is probably going to be tuned down just a hair. That run game's going to have to be big, and I think Kawan Lacey's going to be huge in it. I mean, he led the country in touchdowns or was pretty close to leading the country in touchdowns last year. Was huge for Ole Miss in that playoff run, and I think he is going to be your Doak Walker Award winner. Davey O'Brien Award goes to the nation's top quarterback, and I've got 5 for you. Let's start with my honorable mention, maybe dark horse, Byron Brown at Auburn. Now you're thinking, what? Because I'm also kind of thinking now, what? Because this was a list I made a couple weeks ago. So Byron Brown transfers to Auburn from USF, follows his head coach. Threw for 3,200 yards, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks last year, was top 30 in passing yards, was top 15 in passing touchdowns at USF. Now he's going to be in an SEC school. He's a senior. He's 6'3", 235 pounds. He's also a pretty big running threat, ran for over 1,000 yards last year and 14 touchdowns. So that's a guy that produced 4,200 yards of offense and 42 touchdowns. And again, he went to the swamp and beat Florida. And now Florida's got to come to him at Auburn this year. Listen, beat Boise in week 1. Their only loss last year that was really bad was Miami. I mean, they probably should have beat Memphis, probably should have beat Navy, and may have if they didn't have a couple turnovers in those games. Because, again, he did have 7 interceptions, had that game against, actually, Charlotte was his most interceptions with 2, but I think he's got a chance to have a huge year. So, Byron Brown as my dark horse Heisman candidate. These are going to be 4 names that you're probably going to be hearing a lot of. Drew Mestemaker at Oklahoma State. And honestly, I could put Wyatt Young in the Biletnikoff Award, maybe instead of Becker or Williams. I feel like people don't realize kind of what they saw with Drew Mestemaker last year. That was a true freshman, and if not a redshirt freshman, still a freshman, who threw for 4,129 yards, 31 touchdowns, 7 picks. He was awesome. I mean, number 1 in the country in yards, 4th in touchdowns. And signed a 2-year, $7 million NIL deal with Oklahoma State. His passing game coordinator is now his offensive coordinator again, it's going to be, can he make that jump from the group of 5 to the power 4? I think so. Julian Sand at Ohio State. Again, he is a very popular pick in this award just for the sense that he threw for 3,300 yards, 32 touchdowns, pardon. He didn't turn the ball over a whole lot. Again, the 8 picks was, I think, is kind of influx because he threw 4 of them in the last 3 games of the year, which again were probably Ohio State's worst games. But he threw 77% completion percentage. He's got he's got Jeremiah Smith to throw to. I think Sand's going to have a monster year this year. But a guy I think is going to have a slightly better year, I'll go with C.J. Carr at Notre Dame. Kid was efficient last year. Julian Sand was 3rd in the country in QBR. C.J. Carr was right there with him. Carr was 8th with an 83 QBR, 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and that is in an offense that featured Jeremiah Love last year. Not a big run threat, had 3 rushing touchdowns, but only 30 yards on 40 attempts. Threw for over 200 yards in all but 2 games, and that was a game against Boise, in a game that Notre Dame didn't throw the ball very much, and a game against Syracuse where he threw the ball 9 times. Now, if you want to know why he only threw the ball 9 times, you can look at the score and see, wow, Notre Dame won 70-7, or you can look at the box score and realize, holy crap, Jeremiah Love had 8 carries for 173 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jadarian Price had 4 carries for 70 yards. Kenny Minchie had 2 carries for 59 yards as the quarterback. Yeah, that was a rough game for Syracuse fans. But nonetheless, he's going to have an incredible wide receiver room coming into this year. You look at Jordan Faison. He's back, the lacrosse player. Led the team in catches and yards last year. Then you go to Jaden Greathouse. He's going to be back. He's awesome. I mean, he led the team in receiving yards the year before. Now, you lost, the Malachi Fields of the world, the guys like that. But you've gone in and you had a pretty good portal class. If I can pull that up real quick. Football. So Notre Dame was 11th in the transfer portal. But you go get Quincy Porter from Ohio State. You go get Miles Graham from Ohio State. Or Milan Graham, pardon. From Ohio State, though. I mean, you look at who's had the best receivers in the country forever. It feels like at least the last decade. It's been Ohio State. Go get a couple of them. I think Carr could throw for over 3,000 yards this year. Maybe even 3,500, because the interception numbers stay down, touchdowns go up, he'll win it. Now, I don't necessarily understand the 100% Heisman hype around Arch Manning. I've put him in here, and I think he's got a pretty good shot at winning it. Heading into his 3rd year. It's going to be a redshirt junior, that is. Threw for 3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, 7 picks last year. And I have a tough time putting him here. But it's, because his grandfather didn't win a Heisman, and neither did Eli or Peyton. I think he's got a chance to be the first. He's going to have a tough schedule this year. But if he can perform better than 17 of 30 for 170 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 pick against Ohio State, and also stay upright, because it was sacked 6 times against Florida, it was sacked 3 times against Georgia, 5 times against Mississippi State, 3 times against Kentucky. When he was on the ground, they struggled. Because he didn't throw a whole lot of picks. I mean, yeah, you could say the 2 picks in the Florida game put him in a bad spot, but he threw for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns against Mississippi State. And again, in the latter half of the year, he did have those 300-yard games against Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas, who, again, Mississippi State and Arkansas had terrible defenses, but Vanderbilt's was somewhat feasible. Threw for 300 yards against Sam Houston, almost that against San Jose. It's going to be a big year for Arch, and I think having Cam Coleman is going to make him a Heisman candidate. Or at least Davey O'Brien Award candidate. I have Carr winning the award, though. Now, my Heisman Trophy candidates, I have Trinidad Chambliss in there. I didn't have him in the Davey O'Brien Award just because I didn't want it to be a bunch of the same names. but I think he's going to have a big year, and he's going to have to if Ole Miss is going to win. C.J. Carr, another name up there, quarterback at Notre Dame, just mentioned him. Again, if his efficiency can stay where it was, which is going to be a little bit tough asking him to do a lot more, could be interesting. Arch Manning in there as well as Jeremiah Smith. I think he's our best chance at a player outside of the quarterback position winning it, which has actually become a little bit more common. I mean, 2020, you have wide receiver Devontae Smith. 2024, you have wide receiver and cornerback Travis Hunter. Maybe Jeremiah Smith can join that list. So, folks, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to go through this preseason top 25 and who's maybe some teams on the outside. And, well, I think they're going to finish where they finish. That will be when we return on Mark My Words.
Shop McMaster's Home Gallery for furniture, appliances, and more. And shop quality, shop convenience, shop service, shop local. A family-owned business with a long history of serving the region. We're a one-stop home furnishings destination. We feature brands you know, competitively priced, backed by professional installation and service. You can trust that we'll take good care of you before and after the sale. For your home, shop smart. Shop McMaster's Home Gallery today.
Gifts and goodies galore await you at Miss Millie's in downtown Lawrenceburg. From brands you know and love, like E. Newton Jewelry and Tyler Diva Wash, to unique specialty gifts, you will find it all here. Whether you're looking for the perfect gift for someone you love or shopping for yourself, shopping local is the way to go. We have home goods, women's fashion and accessories, baby items, and lots of seasonal decorations. Our friendly staff will welcome you in, help you find what you need, and even package your gifts for you. Also, we can't forget to tell you about our popular bridal registry. Future brides can come and create their perfect registry with us. So stop by Miss Millie's today. We're located in the northeast corner of the square in downtown Lawrenceburg.
Bring your outdoor dreams to life at Loretto Nursery and Landscaping. This one-stop shop can help you get your project done from start to finish. Go see for yourself. They have a wide variety of plants, from tropicals to ferns and trees, plus hanging baskets. What they have to offer goes beyond what looks good. They also supply concrete, mulch, compost, and drainage culverts. Don't forget about their on-lot buildings and chicken coops. You think that's all? You can also stop by to fill up your propane tank. Loretto Nursery and Landscaping has you covered. Stop by 409 South Military Street.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome back to Mark My Words, top 25 preseason and college football my rankings. We're going to go 25 to 1. We're going to start with some teams that could be sneaky just on the outside looking in. Georgia Tech, I think they could start the year in the top 25 just as long as Brent Key is there and they have some consistency on the offensive and defensive lines, especially with getting Haynes back in their backfield. I think Georgia Tech could be sneaky. Washington, kind of the same thing. As long as the quarterback play is what it's been at Washington with DeMond Williams, I know there's going to be probably some awkward tension just because of him entering the portal, allegedly, whether he wanted to go to LSU, Tennessee, whatever it was. Houston, Connor Wigman, as long as it's just some of these things with consistency. It's things I'm looking at from last year. Houston was really good last year, actually, and I feel like they don't necessarily get the love that they deserved. But they went 9-3 in the regular season. You know, they had Connor Wigman throw for over 2,700 yards. If you can get the interception numbers down, and Dean Connors ran for almost 1,000 yards. Amari Thomas was almost a 1,000-yard receiver. It could be a big year for Houston. And in a Big 12 that could be a little bit down. I mean, Arizona should be good. BYU should be good. Oklahoma State could be good. Texas Tech should be good. Utah should be good. But again, a lot of shoulds, a lot of coulds. A team like Houston could really sneak in there. Now, I really put these teams, I've lumped them together because they have first-year head coaches coming from a smaller conference. Florida and Auburn. I mean, it's based on what you can get from year one from these coaches. Because Could John Summerall come in and go 9-3 and Florida's on the outside just looking in on the playoff? I mean, that would be insane. Auburn, Alec Golish. He was just on SEC Media Days earlier today listening to him. They seem confident in year one. He brought his quarterback and Byron Brown with him. The guy, had as a Davey O'Brien Award finalist, and man, if he could be, Auburn will probably be more on the probably top 10 side of things. UNLV. I mean, you go bring in a Power 5 guy and take this with a grain of salt in Jackson Arnold. Things didn't work at Auburn. Things didn't work at Oklahoma. Go outside the SEC to a guy that has been a QB guru with his style, with the dual threat action in Dan Mullen. Perfect. I mean, look at what Dan Mullen made Dak Prescott. I mean, look at what he's become. I don't think anybody had high hopes on Dak Prescott coming in out of high school, maybe a little bit. Nick Fitzgerald, he was electric too. You go back to his first stint at Florida with Chris Leak, with Tim Tebow, with Cam Newton. I mean, he helped develop Cam Newton before Cam got in trouble and got kicked out of school. But then you even go back to his second time at Florida. Kyle Trask was, I think, probably his only quarterback. I may have had Felipe Franks for that first year. But even that year for Felipe Franks was pretty good. The years he got out of Kyle Trask got him drafted. So he's a good quarterback coach. I think he'll fix him up. Iowa. They went 9-4 a year ago, and it's Iowa. It doesn't matter who they put on the offense. The defense just needs to continue to be what it is, and I think it will be. Special teams is always good as well for the Hawkeyes. If the offense can take a step forward based off last year, which you return a lot of your offensive line, but no Mark Gronowski, no Kamari Moulton, that's a lot to replace on the ground. But again, it's Iowa. You blink, it's November. You look up, they're 7-3. So put them right there in the 25 spot. At 24, this one's a real shot in the dark because they went 1-11 last year. But Oklahoma State had a bunch of their guys as award candidates, and that's kind of why. Last year, they don't return much production, which might be good because, again, you went 1-11. But you got some experienced guys in the secondary and some experienced guys in the front seven back on the defensive end, which was probably the better side of the ball last year. And the offense is going to be a completely night and day difference. So you clean house, get rid of Gundy, and get rid of Ty Grantham, get rid of all the bad coaches and whatnot. You bring in Eric Morris from North Texas, who had a breakout year. Brought his passing game coordinator and quarterback coach Sean Brophy to be his offensive coordinator, and brings over his defense coordinator, Skylar Cassidy. I don't know if that's going to be a spot for him for too much longer, especially if the defense struggles like it did at North Texas last year. But along with that, you bring the nation's passing yards leader, Drew Mestamaker, 3 for 4,400 yards, 34 touchdowns, 70% completion percentage. Those numbers at a Power 4 school are Heisman winning. Brings Caleb Hawkins in as well, who was 5th in the nation in rushing yards for North Texas, 1,434 rushing yards, and a nation-leading 25 touchdowns on the ground. You also bring his best receiver, Wyatt Young, and Miles Coleman, who I believe had around 600 yards, a couple touchdowns. But Wyatt Young was 3rd in the nation in receiving yards. He had 1,264 yards and 10 touchdowns. Put some pieces around that. Good offensive line, maybe a tight end in there, backup running back, a couple more receivers. That's a sneaky, really good offense. Number 23, I got Tennessee. Listen, Josh Heupel's still there, Joey Halsley's still there, and completely overhauling the defensive side of the ball. Bring in Jim Knowles, Anthony Poindexter. You keep William Inge, who is a great coach. You keep Rodney Garner, who is a great coach. And you fixed the things that needed fixing, which was the secondary and which was the tackling. So you bring in new secondary coaches, you bring in new defensive coordinators, you go overhaul in that secondary because guys like Ricky Gibson are gone. Jamad McCoy off to the draft. But Ty Redmond's back. You go get Kayan Lee from Auburn, who I think could be pretty good. You go get DeJuan Lane, TJ Metcalf from Michigan and Penn State. You get rid of all the drama. There's no more Boo Carter, Chaz Coleman, Nico. All that stuff's out the back door. And they're going to be big and physical in the trenches. Go get Derek Owings and the strength and conditioning team from Indiana, which I think made them really big. You don't have a nervous kicker anymore. I think Cooper Ranvier is going to be awesome for Tennessee. He seems cocky, seems to got a lot of moxie and swagger about him, which I think is a kicker you need, and you don't want Max Gilbert, who goes out there with the, oh boy, I'm going to miss this look on his face every time, because you have a kicker that's got some stones, and you beat Georgia last year. Simple as that, and who knows where the season would have gone from there. Now, it's going to be new in the quarterback room. Is it going to be George McIntyre, the Nashville kid who is set for a year now? It was a 4-star, 5-star most of his career, went to a 4-star. Or is it Faison Brandon, the guy who stayed at a 5-star, was one of the top quarterbacks in the country? Seems like it's leaning towards Faison Brandon, and I think that probably going with the guy with the higher ceiling is probably smarter right now. Deshaun Bishop, I think, is going to have a huge year. Ran for almost 1,200 yards, ran over 1,000 yards last year, well over. And, who's going to be the breakout receiver this year? Last year it was Chris Brazzell. The year before it was Dante Thornton. Wasn't really one in 2023. Who's it going to be in 2026? Is it going to be Braylon Staley? Is it going to be Mike Matthews? Is it going to be Tristan Keys? Who's it going to be? Now, an 8-5 last year for Tennessee was seen as a down year when 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, little kid Michael would have loved to see a Tennessee team win 8 games in a year, because he kind of realized my first year watching Tennessee football was 2009. Not great. 2010, you have the Music City Bowl loss to North Carolina. 2011 was awful. You lose to Kentucky with a backup wide receiver at quarterback. 2012 was awful. You gave up 700 yards of offense to Troy. 2013 was still not good. 2014, you saw some promises, and then 2015, you get to an 8-win season. You're like, wow, I didn't think this was possible. You're talking SEC championship, and now, Georgia's in the SEC, and you need, the Kirby Smart Georgia's in the SEC, and now you need 10 wins to get to Atlanta. But I think Tennessee's going to be in that 20 to 25 range. I don't think playoffs this year, but again, if you go 8-4 again, considering that schedule, looks pretty good. Michigan, in that number 22. Listen, I didn't think Sharon Moore was ever going to last there. He was kind of the guy that was like, hey, we'll leave you here just because these guys like you, and keeping as much of it together as possible. Well, we talked about that. Bring in Kyle Whittingham, which was a home run hire. And then he brings in some good coordinators. I'll bring my OC with me from Utah, and Jason Beck. Go get Jay Hill, my good buddy, the defense coordinator over at BYU. They do have a tough schedule, but it has opportunities for big wins, which I think Kyle Whittingham is a guy that can win big games. And they have a bigger, more physically gifted Devin Dampier in Bryce Underwood. Big physical quarterback. And he should develop. The wide receiver room is going to be good. The running back room is going to be good. And the defense should be pretty good. Maybe not elite, which Michigan has been used to the past couple of years. But again, Jay Hill's a great coordinator. They have a bunch of transfers from Utah who should be pretty good. At number 21, I got stuck on stupid. Listen, I have a hard time believing that Clemson's completely fallen off, especially after last year. Listen, Dabo's still Dabo. He's cheesy, but he's a good head coach. Chad Morris, Tom Allen, great coordinators. It's going to be Christopher Fazina's team, and he's going to need to take the reins big time. You have Gideon and Chris Johnson Jr. in your backfield. The wide receiver room is going to be important because that was where you really struggled last year. But the defense is going to be good. Sammy Brown's going to be probably a first-team All-American linebacker. It's still Clemson. And again, they do have a very winnable schedule. I said 8 or 9 wins, I could see it. And again, that would probably put them in the 20 to 25 range. Utah at number 20. I kind of wanted to put Michigan a little above them, but that's just, Utah's in such an easier conference. A part of me thinks that there's a chance by mid-November that Utah's going to regret kind of kicking Whittingham out the door for Morgan Scaley. But I wouldn't hate it if they proved me wrong. I mean, Dampier is electric. He's super athletic, really good quarterback. And, bring back his backfield partner in Wayshawn Parker. Now, the problem with Utah is their O-line's completely gutted from last year. And it was a really good one. The front seven will be physical. The secondary, it's going to be all over the field. But you lost a lot from last year to Michigan on an 11-2 Utah team. I mean, they're going to be right there. Number 19, I got the Louisville Cardinals. Jeff Brom. I mean, big football guy. I mean, do I need to say much more about that? He's been a great quarterback coach, and he's got another good one this year in Lincoln Keenholz from Ohio State. But he brought in some weapons around him too. Trey Richardson, one of the leading receivers from Vanderbilt last year. Brody Foley, the big tight end from Tulsa. Isaac Brown, his running back, is back. And you go look at their defense, at least in projected starters, it's a lot of SEC transfers. And it's going to be first-year defense coordinator Mark Ivey, who's been with Louisville for 8 years now, finally getting the chance as the defense coordinator. He's got a big job this year, and Louisville could be scary in the ACC. Number 18, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Listen, the times I've talked about them, I've been a bit down on them. But this is Matt Campbell at a school with resources that cares about football. I don't care what he did at Iowa State. Iowa State does not have great resources compared to a top-tier Big Ten school. But they just don't have the resources. And, he brought the guys he wanted with him from Iowa State. Hey, could Rocco Begg be a dark horse for the Heisman? Maybe. Now, looking at actually Penn State, you lost a lot of guys to Tennessee and Virginia Tech in the portal. But that was last year's team. How much of that do you really want back? Because there wasn't a whole lot of good. And listen, with Matt Campbell there, this is going to be a fun team. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be fun to cheer for. I think it's going to be exciting in State College this year. But I wouldn't expect them to go win 10 games. Arizona did not lose a whole lot in the portal. The Wildcats did not. You got Noah Fafita back. You got your offensive line back. And Brent Brennan has come in and won games. Even, I get 2024 was a little shaky, but if you see how gutted they were after, Jed Fish left, I think you would consider that a win. I think Fafita's probably going to be the best quarterback, if not top 2 or 3 in the conference. And, you look in there, it's like, wow, Arizona went 9-4 last year. He's going to win them a game they shouldn't this year. And now, at number 16, I have the Virginia Cavaliers. Went 11-3 last year for Tony Elliott. And he has really turned things around. Kept his coordinators. It's a very gettable schedule. And you bring in a mobile QB that fits your system in Bo Perbula with 4 of your 5 offensive linemen returning. You got a lot of guys with experience on offense. And the defense, if it can stay where it was last year, Virginia could be back in the ACC title game. And it feels crazy that if you look at it, that I have Dabo at 21 and his former offensive coordinator at 16 and his former defensive coordinator right above him at number 15. I have the Oklahoma Sooners coming off a college football playoff appearance. Can Venables have good back-to-back years? Because he hasn't yet. It's been one good, one bad, and typically the odd numbers have been the good, the even numbers have been the bad. So, it would lean you towards a worse year for Oklahoma. But Mateer is back. Mateer is healthy. How much better is he, though? Because he didn't impress me last year. Now, most of it was dealing with a hand injury, but even before that was not blowing me away. You returned a ton of running back production, like 95% of your rushing yards, but your running back room stunk. You ran for 1,500 yards total as a team all year. That's just over 100 yards. Not very good. And kind of similar to what I'll talk about with another team later, it just wasn't good. Now, Isaiah Satania is back. Parker Livingstone, the transfer from Texas, help with that air game. And the defense is going to be elite again. I think he got 7 starters back. But, Venables kind of had that Clemson and Alabama style of defense where he's rotating guys in and out. They're all productive. I think it'll take a slight step back with their tough schedule and only one bye week. But Oklahoma, I think, is probably around the 8-win scale, and don't want it to go much below that because I think 7-5, 6-6, you could be looking at a new head coach. The BYU Cougars, hey, was it Crumble Cookie or Insomnia Cookie? One of those was able to keep Kalani Sitake in BYU. They lose defensive coordinator Jay Hill to Michigan, but you have LJ Martin back. You have Bear Bauermeyer back on your offense. You lose your receivers, but your OC is still back. And you have a new defense coordinator, but you bring back a ton of that tough defense. So on the offensive side, it's same coach, new players, but on the defensive side, it's new coach, same players. Same coach, new players on the offense. New coach, same players on the defense. A little bit backwards, but listen, I just don't think BYU is going to have that drastic of a fall off. And even if they do, 14 is not a bad spot. Now, number 13, got the USC Trojans. Can Lincoln Riley finally get over the edge? Couldn't do it in the Pac-12 with the Heisman Trophy winner and Caleb Williams. Could he do it in the Big Ten where he's gone 7-6 and 9-4? I mean, 16-10 is not great. Now, he brought in Gary Patterson to help improve his defense. Jaden Maava returning, that's big. Terrell Anderson, can he be the new the NC State transfer at wide receiver? Can he be the new Micaiah Lemon for Jaden Maava? Because other than that, they don't have a ton of huge profile transfers. Because, again, if you're not one of those top 5 or 6 schools out of the portal, you're not bringing in a whole lot. Again, I think 8-4, 7-5 probably gets Lincoln Riley fired. Could he magically pull out a 10-win season? I think he could. With only losses to Ohio State and Indiana, that team's in the playoff. So we'll talk about it with the number 13 USC Trojans. And number 12, let's go with the playoff team from last year. Actually, a very good playoff team from last year in the Ole Miss Rebels. I got them at number 12, went 13-2 last year. The word is new but the same. Because it's new roles, but the same coaches. You know, you lose your OC, but you bring back, your co-OC gets promoted. You lose your defensive coordinator. He's now your head coach. Well, you promote your co-defense coordinator to defensive coordinator, and you brought in a ton of assistant coaches. You got Trinidad Chambliss back. Could be Heisman, probably going to be going into the season as a potential favorite, if not top 2 or 3. And you bring back Juan Lacey. Now, their portal class was awesome defensively. Now, you lose Prince Will, but I don't think that's going to be as big of an impact based on the guys you're bringing in, because you lose one and you bring in like 6 guys that are probably going to start. Now, the question for me is how much is the offense going to fall off? Because Lane Kiffin's gone, Charlie Weiss Jr. is gone, and you lost a good bit of your receiver room, too, to the draft. Can Darrell Gill Jr., the transfer from Syracuse, can he be a wide receiver 1? He was at Syracuse, but doing that at Ole Miss, it's going to be a different volume. At number 11, wow, I didn't realize I had 3 SEC schools in a row. But I have Texas A&M. Went 11-2 last year, made the playoff, hosted a game, got kind of spanked around, but you got Marcel Reed back. There's a lot of people that are a bit down on him. Listen, he is an undersized quarterback who is extremely shifty and has a good arm. You have Marcel Reed, Reuben Owens, Mario Craver. That could be the best quarterback, running back, receiver trio in the SEC. You got a mean defense, and Mike Elko's still your head coach. Now, you did lose an offensive and defensive coordinator, but you promoted internally with your co-OCs and co-DCs. Do they have a chip on their shoulder from that playoff loss to Miami? Because you think, hey, you win that game, what if we're the team that beats Ohio State? What if we're the team that upsets Ole Miss? What if it's Texas A&M versus Indiana in the college football playoff national championship game, which really feels like a dream? And dream in the sense of that doesn't seem real. Number 10. Part of me wanted me to put them lower, but I feel like the other part of me thinks that it would have been seen as some bias. I have Alabama. Went 11-4 last year, made the playoff, won a game on the road, lost in the Rose Bowl. Now listen, you lost everything from your passing game except Ryan Williams. No more Ty Simpson, no more Giovanni Bernard or Jeremy Bernard. But you hit the portal pretty hard. Your offensive line lost a good bit as well. Really, the most you get back in your offense is your run game. And like I was saying with Oklahoma last year, about Oklahoma from last year, the run game was bad. Run game was bad for Alabama last year. How much better does it get? How much worse does it get? Because I honestly think that this is probably... Now, and again, you failed to get Hollywood Smothers in the portal. He ends up going to Texas. I think this is probably going to be the best defense Kalen DeBoer has had at Alabama. They're going to be huge in the trenches. That those edge rushers are going to be screaming off the edge. The linebacker play is going to be good. The defensive line is going to be good. And that's probably going to be I'm going to say second most dangerous secondary in the country behind only Notre Dame. So is Alabama this year Oklahoma from last year? If so, are you going to get that from are you going to get that level of play from Keelan Russell, or are you going to get that level of play from Austin Mack? Obviously, I think Mack is probably better right now, but I think Russell gives you the higher upside. So, does Alabama go 8-4? Do they go 10-2, 11-1? Who knows? Now, the highest rank I have from a bad team is LSU. They went 7-6 last year. We're not good. Could not run the ball. Could not move the ball. I mean, you had pretty much a gimp at quarterback with Nussmeier after he got injured. So you had no mobility in your quarterback. You had receivers that really underperformed. I mean, Trey'Dez Green really is your only highlight from last year offensively. Well, all that's gone. You bring in Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr., you retain Blake Baker on the defensive side of the ball. Big question, how close to 100% is Sam Leavitt week 1? And if he is at 100% week 1, how long will he be at 100%? Because he's been a bit injury prone, was last year at least. And I get this as being very, very picky, but I look at the one game he played against an SEC team last year. It was on the road at Mississippi State, who had one of the worst defenses in the SEC. He went 10-22 for 82 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, was sacked 2 times, and only ran the ball for 25 yards. Was not good. Now, later that year, he played Texas Tech while injured, went 28-47, 319, and a touchdown. Now, let me look at the score in the Arizona State versus Texas. That's the only other SEC team he has experience against, and that was in that, I believe it was the Cotton Bowl a couple years ago. I mean, 24-46 for 222 and a touchdown. I mean, most of his game was Cam Scatterbo. So, is he going to be ready for SEC level defenses? I don't know. And the run game was terrible last year. Is it going to be much better? Because again, if you can't run the ball again, you become one-dimensional, and then that forces a lot of pressure on Sam Leavitt, which has him probably getting hit more, which probably has him getting hurt more, which could not be good. Now, LSU probably by far the best portal class. You go get Jordan Seaton from Colorado. You go get Eugene Wilson from Florida, talented receiver. Obviously talked about Prince Will from Ole Miss. Todd Benefield, the safety from Boise that was really good last year. Can you build a national championship in the transfer portal? And the question, I talked about it earlier, can Lane Kiffin finally win a big game? Because they're going to have a target on their back every game. Nobody likes Lane Kiffin. Nobody likes LSU. You put 2 and 2 together, it's going to be you're going to be everyone else's Super Bowl for a good portion of the season, especially Ole Miss in week 3. Now, number 8, Texas Tech. Coming off a playoff appearance, elite portal class. One of the top 2 up there with LSU. Got a lot in the trenches. Which means they're going to be one of the more big physical teams in the Big 12, which leans towards good things happening for them. Joey McGuire is a great head coach, so I think that gives them a little bit of an edge. No Brendan Sorsby, no problem, I think. I think Will Hammond's going to come in and fill things in excellently as long as he can stay healthy, and hopefully the Brendan Sorsby thing doesn't become too big of a distraction for this team, because it could lead to bad things. Number 7, I got the Texas Longhorns. Back-to-back teams from Texas. Teams that we wish would play in week 1 if, Texas Tech said they'd pay the buyout for those schools, but obviously Sark is smarter than that. Is Arch finally going to live up to that last name? Again, we talked about it. His uncles, his grandpa didn't win a Heisman, so I don't think he has too much to live up to. But Texas has a new defensive coordinator in Will Muschamp, who I think is one of the best defensive minds in the game. I mean, you look at those defenses he had at LSU, those defenses he had at Florida. They were elite. He even had great defenses at South Carolina. He just wasn't a great head coach. He's had great defenses at Georgia before. So, go fix Texas's defense. That was something that struggled a good bit. And Pete Kwiatkowski was a great defensive coordinator last year, but it's time to move on. They much improved the offensive line. I mean, we talked about how much Arch got sacked last year. And night and day difference in the running back room. You take Hollywood Smothers from first NC State, then Alabama. He was committed to the Tide for maybe 48 hours. And then you get Raleigh Brown, who was a very talented running back at Arizona State last year, gives you a two-headed monster. Cam Coleman and Ryan Wingo are going to be an elite wide receiver combo, 1-2. Now, the thing is, Sark's going to have to be able to actually call some good plays this year, be a good coach, because he was not last year. It felt like he was calling stuff. It felt like he was calling last year's games with 2 years ago's playbook, and that's not going to work. You can't just do the same thing every year. Especially, you had to coach to your team. He didn't do that last year, and if he doesn't do it again this year, this is going to be a huge disappointment for Texas. Number 6, I got the Miami Hurricanes, 13-3 on the year before. College football playoff runner-up. About a chip on their shoulder, man. They were that close to taking down Indiana, and after what they did to Bama, after what they did to Oregon, I mean, I didn't think that national championship was going to be close, and it was. And you know why it was? Well, because of those guys returning. Malachi Toney, Mark Fletcher. You go get Darian Mensah from the portal, who I think has a much higher upside than Carson Beck. You have a tremendous portal class, both offensive and defensive. Now, you do lose both your big defensive ends from last year in Reuben Payne, Akeem Mesidor. They caused havoc. But you go get Damon Wilson from Missouri, who's formerly of Georgia. I mean, you just look at that team from that last year to this year, bring him back a lot. Miami is going to be really good, and I think we have a chance to have probably a maybe 3 versus 4 game coming up in November with a team we'll talk about in a minute. The Indiana Hoosiers. Now, I am someone, I can't rank someone that won the national championship out of the top 5. I don't care if they lost their whole team, all 22 offense, defense, kick the punter and the kicker out too, all 24. Because Indiana did lose a lot of production, a lot of leadership. No Fernando Mendoza, no Roman Hemby, no Ahmad Black, no Omar Cooper, I believe, is gone. The Elijah Surratt, you lost him. Defense lost a lot of guys well, you didn't lose too many guys on the defensive end, but you did lose some guys up front, and most importantly, I really do want to see how this impact is. The loss of their strength and conditioning team, their nutritionist, their strength and conditioning coach, it's all new. Now, Kurt Cignetti is still a head coach. Josh Hoover, I think, is prone to have a Heisman caliber level year. We see what Cignetti and that offense did for Fernando Mendoza last year. But it's a tough schedule, and they're going to have a target on their back. So I think we could realistically see Indiana lose 2 games this season, in the regular season. But again, I think Indiana could go 0-12, and they would only be a little bit upset at Cignetti and just said, hey, maybe he didn't want to try this year, who knows. But again, I think that I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that Indiana is going to be really good again this year. Georgia. Now, I put them at 4 before I saw that one of their key running backs is going to be out for maybe the whole year. But Gunnar Stockton's back. He wasn't elite last year, but he was good, and he took care of the football. And man, he won some games that Georgia, probably should have won by a lot. But again, they won the games while he was the quarterback. The only problem for Gunnar Stockton is he's not been good in the playoff. Again, 18 this year in the playoff, 18 to 31, 203 and a touchdown. Ran for 20 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't know about Georgia because I look at a national champion as a team that has like Ohio State, a number 1 wide receiver, somebody that can go for 1,000 yards. That if you need a catch, you're going to him. Georgia doesn't have that. They got a couple of guys you can go to, but not one that you can just guarantee. Not anybody that was like that Brock Bowers, and he almost went for 1,000 yards as a tight end. But Georgia's going to have the easiest schedule out of everybody in the SEC, like it seems they always do. The key for Georgia is going to be not getting too beat up. And again, I don't know if there is much change on it, but there can't be 3 or 4 weeks between the last the last regular season game and the first playoff game, because Kirby Smart mentioned it. I think he thinks the national champion should be the team that can play from start to finish without too many breaks in the middle, because that kills momentum. That completely changes things, and that's why we've had teams that have completely come out of nowhere and won the national championship, or at least made it to the game. Oregon at number 3 made the playoff last year. They did lose both coordinators, but Dan Lanning, man, he has gotten so close every year, and he keeps getting closer. It was all about getting to the conference championship game. Then they got there and lost it a couple times. Well, then they won it. And then it was get to the playoff. Well, then they got to the playoff. Won a game. And now lost in the semifinal to the national champion. It was a big loss. But you get your Heisman finalist quarterback back. You return a ton of production. And you killed it in the transfer portal. I mean, you go get guys like Coy Parrish from Minnesota. That back end of your defense is going to be elite. But I do think there is a slight gap between 3 and 2. I think 1 and 2 are by far 1 and 2. Number 2, I got Notre Dame. Fighting Irish went 10-2 a year ago. Lost Jeremiah Love, lost Jadarian Price. They're returning a ton of starters, both offensively and defensively. Running back room might take a minute, as we saw it take a minute to get active last year, but it's going to be guys you don't know until 2 years down the road and when they're Heisman candidates. And now you have C.J. Carr, who's, I would say, the best quarterback arm-wise you've had at Notre Dame in a long time. I mean, I'm just thinking of years past. You had, obviously, last year C.J. Carr. The year before, Riley Leonard was not a great arm. Sam Hartman, I think, was... his marketing team was really good, because I didn't think he was that great with his arm. He is top 10 all time, I think, in passing yards in college football, but that's because he played for 6 years. Before that, you had like Tyler Buckner, Jack Cohn. Ian Book was good, but not great. I think CJ Carr is great because, my mother's a huge Notre Dame fan. I've been telling her for probably the last decade that Notre Dame doesn't need a game manager. They need a game changer at quarterback, and I think CJ Carr is that guy. And hey, Christian Gray, I can't think of his name now. It's not Benjamin Morrison. It's the Leonard Moore. There we go. That's going to be one of the most dangerous secondaries in the country. Flying all over the place. If Notre Dame's defense can kind of make up for, I think, what's going to be lacking a little bit in the run game with time control, they're going to be elite. And then number 1, I think by far, is Ohio State. You bring back your quarterback. You do lose your OC. Brian Hartline is gone, which I think could have an impact down the road, but probably not this year. And you go bring in Arthur Smith as your offensive coordinator, who, again, was not thought of very highly in at least the NFL coordinator ranks. But the same thing could have been said for Matt Patricia, your defensive coordinator, when he came out of the NFL. But you have a uber efficient quarterback coming back, a uber efficient running back coming back in Bo Jackson. You've got Jeremiah Smith is your wide receiver 1. The line's going to be big up front. You're going to have to replace a lot, but again, it's 1A and 1B kind of with Ohio State. They're going to be really good. And the thing that has impressed me about Ohio State, and this is coming from a Tennessee fan who should have absolute nothing but disdain for the Buckeyes, it doesn't matter if they go 12-0 and win the national championship or they go 8-4. They are trying to change and improve every offseason. They went 12-2 and lost in the playoff, semifinal or quarterfinal? They go get a new OC. They go beef up their defense. Could be a scary Buckeyes team come this season. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Mark My Words College Sports Show here on the X Sports Network. Next week, we'll have a little bit more college football to talk about. We'll talk about it all the way up into the season. Maybe we'll take a dive into first-year head coaches. That could be something interesting. But for Michael Marks, this has been Mark My Words. Have a good week, everybody.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.